Do you ever feel like you could use a better system for your freezer? If your freezer is jam-packed and you're just counting down the days until you have to throw most of it away from freezer burn, then this episode will help. I'm going to share with you 3 freezer tips that are super easy that will also help create less stress when it's time to meal plan.
Are you ready to stop the chaos, the stress, the overwhelm that's filling your life? I'm Renae Matt, and together you and I are going to build simple routines that are going to change your life. When you put these habits into practice, you're going to be able to organize your life in a way where you can be there for your family, pay off your debt, save money, your house can stay organized, you don't have to stress about what's for dinner, and you still get time for yourself. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the Routine Advantage Podcast.
So this episode topic came to mind when I was in the Facebook community, and we have our declutter challenge going on right now, and one of the daily challenges was for freezer to get it all cleaned out and get it reset. And that is a task that feels very daunting sometimes. So you might be surprised, like this challenge is all tasks that are 15 minutes or less, and the freezer was one of them. And that may surprise you. However, we had several people say that they were so surprised on how quick it was once they got to it. I have given some tips on how to tackle each project, and like one person even commented and said that they were dreading it and it ended up taking them 7 minutes. So it is definitely something that once you get a handle on what to do and have a process that works really well for you, it is so easy, and things that we kind of we kind of avoid for a while end up being not so bad when we have a system to follow. And this is why I wanted to bring these tips to you, because if the freezer is one of those spaces that just kind of gets out of control, there are easier ways to kind of handle what is in there and to make it a little bit easier as you're going through your meal planning process. But even if you're not in a meal planning routine yet, this is still going to help you just gotta keep your freezer just organized in general. So this will help you either way. If you do want to join us for the last days of the declutter challenge, we do have it going until November 17th. So you have a few days left. Basically, it is daily challenges that are 15 minutes or less, and any day that you complete, you get an entry into our drawing. Plus, you're just doing it with other people, and it's super fun to have that camaraderie and accountability with others. And so, we have several days left. You can hop in and join us for those last days, or you can even go back and complete some of the previous challenges, some of the previous days. It's going to be 14 days in total. So if you are feeling extra ambitious, feel free to go back and complete some of the others to earn extra entries if you want to try and win the prizes. And there are 3 prizes that we're giving away. All of the details are listed in the pin post at the top of the group. You can join us over there at facebook.com/groups/the routine advantage community. And the links are also in the show notes on where to go. But as we go into this episode, I want to share the 3 super simple freezer tips for less stress when meal planning. Number 1, do regular cleanouts. And this one might sound self explanatory or, like I said, daunting, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And I think the easiest way to do this is it might be a little bit different depending on the size of your freezer. If you have like a giant chest freezer, this is probably not the best way to go. But if you have like a normal person's refrigerator, whether it is a top freezer on your refrigerator, like the bottom one, the drawer, no matter what it is, you can do this process because it is very quick. And the first thing I want you to do is set your timer, because that will keep you accountable and like on track to get this done very quickly. And just time yourself and try and beat your time each time, because if you make it a game, you go much quicker. But basically, all you want to do is just clear off some counter space and remove everything from the freezer. And yes, that is what I said, remove everything. And then you want to take some soapy water, wipe it all down, take a dry towel, dry it all out, because we don't need ice getting covering the sides. So we want to dry it all out really well. And then we're going to put the items back into the freezer. But to do that, I want you to go to step two, or tip number two is when you are putting the items back into the freezer, you are going to use bins to organize and sort by category. And this is the second tip that you can take it or leave it, but I really like having bins in order to sort, like, if you have like the bags of vegetables or produce or like things that are slipping around, rather than just shoving them in and trying to make sure that they fit in a way that they don't just landslide to your face when you open the freezer. This is a way to really keep everything organized. So then you also have a quick view when you are doing that inventory for meal planning, that you can quickly see what vegetables you have in your bin, what meats you have in your bin. And you can decide if you want to put everything in bins or just maybe some of the loose stuff, or if you want to just do it by category completely, where it's all baking supplies in one bin. And then you have to decide what works best for you. Maybe it's smoothie ingredients, but having bins helps you to just really organize and have that quick glance. And before you go out and buy a bunch of bins, I want you to just think about maybe using some Tupperware or something that you already have in your house, or maybe it's like a bucket even somewhere, that you can just organize it, see if you actually like it and it doesn't drive you absolutely crazy. But if you like it, then you can go out and, make a purchase to get some nice bins that fit better into your freezer. But that is just an idea to help just keep it very clean and organized. And then tip number 3 is, this is kind of a take it or leave it. If if this stresses you out, then just forget this one. But this is an idea if it looks like something that would be helpful for you or sounds like something that would be helpful for you, is to keep a Post-it note for inventory of your ready to go meals. Now, this is something that you could put either on your freezer directly, because that's just the easiest place to put it. You could also put it next to your meal planning calendar. Like I said, if you've listened to any of the previous episodes, I like using a wall calendar that has like the spiral bound, and I have the erasable pen that's just slid into the spiral um, section. And then I have that inside of my cupboard in our kitchen. Now, with this, I actually have a Post it note next to the calendar as well that keeps track of meals that we have put into the freezer. Because sometimes if we make extra, lasagna or extra chili or soup of some kind, or maybe it is extra like taco meat that we want to throw in the freezer, then sometimes we put it in there and we kind of forget about it. So you could have a bin that, like in tip number 2, you could have a bin that is for ready to go meals. So then you always know at a glance what they are if you don't want to keep track on a post it. But we don't have enough room in our freezer because we have a very small freezer. In our kitchen, we would have to go down to the chest freezer in the basement. So, in the freezer in our kitchen, we don't have enough room to do a bin for these meals. So, they're kind of separated. So, what we like to do is keep a Post it note, and we put that next to the meal planning or the meal planner calendar. And then from there, we just write down when we add something to the freezer. And so when I'm planning out our meals for the next week, we can take a glance at that and see if we want to use any of those meals or if we still want to save them for another time. And then when we do plan them out onto the calendar, I will just cross them off either when I plan it or when we use it. Or sometimes I do have to do a little bit of a catch up because I'm not perfect at it. So sometimes a couple weeks go by or however time frame goes by, and then I will just take a look at that and see if I think it is actually up to date. And I might have to cross a couple more off or add a couple that I forgot to put on there. So that is definitely not a perfect system for me yet, but it is something that keeps me more organized than if I wouldn't do it at all with the meals that are in our freezer. So that is something that you can consider doing. But if you have the room to do a bin of ready to go meals, that is an amazing way to do it. And if we ever get a new freezer, that is what I will do over the Post-it. So that's just an idea. Maybe that's technically, I guess, 4 tips then, because you have the extra of putting ready to go meals in bins. But this was going to be a super quick and simple episode because that is pretty much all I had to talk about on this episode because they were so simple. So I will do a recap for you on those freezer tips for less stress when meal planning. Number one, do regular cleanouts. And I recently did a revised version of the episode of the 4-step method to declutter any space. And this works really great for freezers as well, where you just remove everything, you wipe it all down, and then you sort the items because that is a good time to get rid of the stuff that is old and has that freezer burn on it, or is just something that you know that you're never actually going to use, or it's past its prime. And this is a good time to kind of sort and filter through those. And then at that point, you have the food remaining that you are going to use and that you want to keep. And then you can put that back in your freezer, which brings us to tip number two is that you can use bins to organize and sort the food in your freezer, either by category or even by like product, like if it's in bags or anything like that, where it slides around and it's not as easy to stack. That is something that you can do as well. You can test and tweak what works best for you. And like I said, don't worry about spending money on bins beforehand. You might put them in there and you might hate them, but it is something to try. So try and use what you have on hand before you go out and spend money on it. And then tip number three is to keep a post-it note so that you can keep a running inventory of your ready to go meals. And this one, you can either do the post-it note to write them down as you put them in, and then obviously as you take them out, cross them off, or you can also put an extra bin for all of those ready to go meals in there. So then you don't even have to worry about the post-it note. So those are your tips for the freezer. And I hope that you found those helpful. Hopefully, you can take at least one of them and just enjoy making life a little bit easier with just small little tweaks. And if you want to join us for the declutter challenge, like I said, we have a few days left. It goes until November 17th, and we would love to see you in there. And as you are in there, if you want to, you can go to the top of the group. There is a pinned post that is the episode library. And if you are wanting to learn more about the declutter method, all of that stuff, you can actually, rather than just going and scrolling through your podcast app, which you are welcome to do by all means, but if you want to actually like search for a topic or a keyword for the declutter method, or even like your morning routine, your meal planning routine, your budget routine, all of those different things, you can use keywords in that episode library to search for whatever you need, and it will highlight all of the different episodes that we have so far. And we were at over 120 episodes. I think this is episode 122, if I'm not mistaken, 122, 123. We have a lot of episodes to kind of filter through. So that helps you to search for what you are actually looking for if you are looking for something specific. So I hope that is helpful, and I will catch you on the next episode. Take care.
Did you love that episode or learn something useful? If so, would you do me a huge favor? My goal is to grow this podcast and help as many women as I can break free from the overwhelm so they can truly enjoy their life. The best way for me to do this is for you to leave a 5-star written review on your podcast app and to share this episode with a friend or in your Instagram stories. I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care.